But remember, what is with Allah is immense reward that is great for you if you pass those tests. So this is a challenge for all of us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continued further that fattaqullaha mustata'tum. Then fear Allah as much as you can. Wasma'u wa ati'u wa anfiqu khayran li anfusikum. Wa man yuqa shuhha nafsihi fa ulaika humul muflihun. So be patient, listen, and spend, sacrifice everything good, put it forward for Allah. And remember that وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. That those who are saved from the covetousness of their own soul, okay, those who can bottle their own emotions, who can step on their lustful desires, Allah said they are the only ones that will achieve felicity. That is succeeding hands on you being able to step on your own selfish desires, to be able to crush your own lust. And in tuqridullah qardan hasana yudha'ifu lakum wa yaghfir lakum. If you give to Allah a beautiful loan, if you make sacrifice and you understand and you try your best for the sake of Allah, Allah said, Wallahu shakurun alim. Allah is very appreciative and Allah is forbearing and is alimul ghaibi wa shahadatil azizul hakim. Allah is the knower of the seen and the unseen, and is the Almighty. Allah is the All-Powerful. So, brothers and sisters in Islam, we will always face challenges no matter who we are and no matter what we do. We will always face challenges. But if we do our best and we believe in Allah and we are ready to sacrifice, then we will find things easier for us here in the world, and Allah will reward us immensely on the day of judgment. Now, coming to specific issues. So, all along we'll be talking about broad-based concepts. Now we are going to go into a little more detail. Now, this is a conversation of adults. So if any one of you is going to feel offended when we talk about some key issues, I understand there are exit signs there for us to leave. So that is understandable. However, we have to also understand these are core parts of our religion. And in our religion, la haya fi din, there is no shyness in the matter of religion. Because if you don't know and you are wrong, Allah is going to ask you why you didn't go to learn. Okay, so this is really important. Now, first question we often ask ourselves is, when it comes to intimate relationship, in other words, as we say here, when it comes to the issue of sex, is it a responsibility or your right? The answer is, it is both. If you are the one that your spouse is asking you for it, it is your responsibility. If you are the one asking for it, it is your right. And I'll say that again. When it comes to issues of intimate relationship, it is both responsibility and it's also your right. If you are the one asking for it, it is your right. And if your spouse is asking for it, it is your responsibility. So there is no two way about it. And that's why in the earlier principle, we made it clear to ourselves that if you strip everything away from marriage, that you can outsource it. You know, we outsource everything, right? You can't outsource intimate relationship with your wife to somebody else. Okay, so now then the second question on this is, what then constitutes adequate frequency? Now, it depends on the couple. There are some couple if we are trying to get the kids out because of what I'm saying, no, let them sit down. No, I'm not going to be vulgar. No, not at all. I'm not going to tell them what they already probably haven't had before. It's us as adults that we assume that our kids don't know anything. Okay? Think about yourself when you were 19 or 20 years old and your parents think you don't even know the difference between a man and a woman. And you know how wrong they were, right? And some of us too, we are doing the same thing. But these days, you give your child, you give him a Droid phone when he's like 8 years old. Ask them. I was in Houston maybe a couple of weeks ago, and they asked me to talk to the youth. And the question I asked them to break the ice, I said, by a show of hands, because I don't want to ask them if they are watching porn. Of course, you know, children in every community, they are watching pornography on their cell phone, right? If you don't know, you are still burying your head in sand. If you say you don't know. If your child has a Droid phone or iPhone, believe it, a whole lot of them are watching porn on their phone. So what I did was to ask them. I said, even if you have never watched porn yourself, raise up your hand if you know somebody who has watched porn. You should do them raise their hands. You see, it's a simple question. It's a simple question because even if you have not watched it before, if you know somebody who has watched porn before, raise up your hand. You see, so don't assume. We have to engage our youth. And the best people to engage them, us, their parents. Talk to your children. And how will you know what your children know? Ask them where babies come from. It's simple. Simple test. If you ask your child where do babies come from, and don't think you have to ask those who are in high school. No, you are late. Ask those who anybody who is over the age of 6. Just ask simple questions, casual conversation. Where do babies come from? If they give you the right answer, you are late. You are all laughing. This is very serious. For those of you who have kids who are over 6 years of age, when you go home tonight, ask them that question. Ask. If the question comes to you, they will answer. Just ask them casually that, oh, Abdullah, come let me even ask you this question. Where do babies come from? And listen to the answer they will give you. Yeah, and it will be a good eye-opener for many of us that are chuckling now. It will be a good eye-opener for you. You'll be amazed how much they already know. Anyway, intimate relationship. When it comes to the expectation, you are responsible for your partner's enjoyment and satisfaction. It is a duty. It is not something that is, well, if I can't get to it. No, it is a duty. And one has to understand that sometimes challenges that occur in this arena is due to medical problems. A lot of time when there is problem in the family, like they don't have children, people in the African, and not even African, almost everywhere, they always blame the women. Always. Meanwhile, it could be the man that is firing blanks. Okay? But yet, we still blame women for everything. Sometimes, the lack of performance or premature ejaculation and all those stuff, they are truly medical problems. So if you have problems in this department, please seek medical help. Don't assume it's juju. Okay? Don't call it jedi-jedi. Jedi-jedi has no definition, even in Yoruba language. Because anything is jedi-jedi. Anything from passing blood in stool, which may be cancer, from having back pain, from impotence, everything is jedi-jedi. So, this is not right. Because your wife has right over you. If you need to be on the blue pill, by all means you need to be on the blue pill. If you die while taking the blue pill, hey, you die in active duty. So, well, you don't think it's active duty. But the whole point is, seek medical help. Seek medical help. This is a department that you have to safeguard. We have to safeguard this. Adequate and honest communication is the key to success. Because, by a show of hands, how many of us actually got the sex talk from your own parents? Raise up your hand. That your parents are the one who called you and they told you about the opposite sex and all that and what you should do. You see, we only have 2 people. In all of us, only 2 people that got the sex talk from their parents. So, what about the rest of us? They assume you are going to learn it on your own. And for every man, every is God's gift to every woman. And even the one that is performing below average is going to think of himself as a meta because he has no idea what's going on. So, brothers and sisters in Islam, this is really important. This is a very important issue. Before you get married, sit down with a counselor. It could be your imam. Sit down, let them explain. I mean, it's disastrous when people are getting married and then on casual conversation, during the nikah ceremony, you ask him, so what do people say when they want to meet their wife? And he has no idea. He doesn't know. And you are doing their nikah right there. So what are they going to do as soon as everybody leaves? They don't even know the dua. So this is terrible, to say the least. It's terrible. Okay, so it's important to seek information. This is part of what you have to know. And I challenge all of us, those of us who conduct marriages and stuff like that, meet with the couple before the day of the nikah. Meet with them, assess what they need to know, talk to them, ensure that they already know what they're supposed to. Sometimes you even get to the nikah, they've not even said to the issue of mark. Right there is when you are explaining it to them, and then you have to excuse them to go and settle it. I mean, there are some things that should not happen. It only shows how much we don't put particular attention to important issues. Brothers and sisters, this is really important, and we should stay within the boundaries of Allah. Again, on the issue of intimate relationship, this is the most political way of putting this statement. Wise women understand that they do not have the right to say no to their husbands. I'm not sure there is a milder way I can put this, because this is the absolute mildest way I could think of putting this statement. Wise women know that they do not have the right to say no to their husband. Saying no is a no. And it's really important for our sisters to know, if you say no to your husband, you have said yes to so many things you have not even thought about. And if you say no to your husband and he's calm, you should be very worried. You should be incredibly worried. If you say no to your husband and he's quiet or he's calm, it's not because he's nice. No. It's because, number one, he's saying to himself, what did I do to deserve this from her? How am I going to get back at her? What are the options I have to her? When should I strike back? There's not going to be anything pleasant going on in his head at the time you said no to him, except what is going to retaliate back. It is never pretty when you say no to your husband and he's quiet. If you say no to him and he's up in arms, he's fighting, you are lucky. And the reason why you are lucky is because he's still thinking that you are the only option he has. The day he realizes and he convinces himself that you are just occupying one out of the 4 spaces he has, then you understand how much trouble you are in. Because that will eventually happen. It will eventually happen. Because after you said no, and he realizes he needs to safeguard his own religion, his secretary comes to work every day with a skirt that is above the knee. Okay? His secretary comes to work every day, and the secretary is not married. And he knows that. Okay? And there are so many co-workers that smile at him and tell him how nice his perfume smells. Yes, and he keeps coming home to you, and you are busy saying no to your husband, claiming we are in America now, I can say no. Which is true. But once you say no, after a while you start thinking about options that he has. And by the time it becomes quiet, it's game over. Because the problem that will occur from it, you may not be able to return the sword back to the scabbard. So if you are one of those people that say to yourself, well, it's my body, it's true, it's your body. If you say you are the gatekeeper, and of course you are the gatekeeper, but remember, when somebody brings business to you and you say go away, they have the right to take their business elsewhere. You see, your husband are saying yeah. The truth is, men don't like to say this. Okay, they don't like to say this. And women will assume that you're supposed to understand it now. After all, we did it last night. And you can wait for me to get back from work tomorrow at night. There is no such thing. The guy's mind does not work like that. It doesn't work. Do not assume that the way you feel about sex is the way your husband feels about sex. It's not the same. And if you want to understand that it is not the same, think about how long it takes you to warm up and how many seconds it takes your husband to be ready. Okay? Your husband can be ready as soon as he looks at you. It takes only 1 second. But for you, you still need a lot of foreplay and all those things, which the average man thinks is nothing but a waste of time. And in their heads, they are convinced it's a waste of time. But the human physiology dictates that it is not a waste of time. If anything, the Prophet ﷺ said, you should always give your wife that adequate time. Okay, so if we don't know our religion, we are the ones that don't know our religion. It is part of our religion to have adequate time for foreplay with your wives. It is part of the religion. But you see, in the way the man is wired, he's ready. It's like a microwave. The woman is like oven. You put it on and then you wait. 350 degrees. Before you can make anything. We are very different. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it like that. Allah made it like that. Did it ever occur to you that the nipple that the baby sucks on is also very sensitive sexually to the woman? How do they cope with both? If they can be turned on just like that. See, you have to think. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala designed us. And Allah said, you will not find error in the design of Allah. Okay, in Surah Al-Mulk, min tafawut, right? Farjil basara al-dara min futur. That look again, can you see? You won't find error in what Allah has designed. Even if you don't understand it, you are the one that don't understand it. But Allah did not make any mistake. So, do not assume. And this is really important for us to spend some time on this topic. Even though it makes our sisters uncomfortable and it makes many of them hate me. But the fact is, I'm your friend. Because this is what your husband is trying to tell you. But he doesn't know how to put it in words. Okay? Do not put your marriage at a disadvantage, at jeopardy, by saying no to your husband. In fact, there are many men that think women call themselves and they have a secret meeting that tells them to have headache anytime their husband is calling them. Because it's like, it's a universal thing. When you call her, she has headache. It's always headache, they always have. As like the man is the source of their headache. But remember, everybody can help you with everything except this. This is your primary responsibility, both for the husband and to the wife. And again, like I said earlier, if your partner wants it, it's your responsibility. If you want it, it is your right. Now, this video, I totally encourage all our women to go and watch this video. All you have to do is go to YouTube, type "Women Are Nothing in Islam," and you see this sister, she will give you about 11-minute lecture on this important topic. Just listen to it when you get home. Don't be fooled by the title that says "Women Are Nothing in Islam." Just go and watch this video. It says "Women Are Nothing in Islam," that's the title. Watch this video, watch it with your wife. Okay, watch it with your wife. And for ladies, watch this with your daughters. This is really important. You will enjoy the video. I don't want to tell you what she said because I want you to go and watch the video. Again, about intimate relationship, we have to recognize that abortion is a haram. Yes, we are in the United States where they tell us it's pro-life and pro-choice and pro, In Islam, you don't have the right to kill anybody. You don't have the right except something that is ordained by Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned to us that on the day of judgment, يَوْمَ مَوْدَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ, that those children who were murdered will ask, why, what offense did they commit that justified them being murdered by their parents? So, abortion is haram. When it comes to the issue of birth control, there are some brothers that don't believe in birth control, and at the same time, when it comes to now, it does not mean that you should do birth control. I'm not advocating that you should do birth control if you don't want to. If you want to have 200 children, that's okay. Alhamdulillah. I used to tell myself I want to have 200 kids. That tells you I still have a long way to go, but that's good. So the issue is you can have as many children as you want. Allah will take care of them. Do not commit abortion on account of you being afraid of poverty. وَلَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ. Okay? خَشْيَةَ إِمْلَاقٍ نَحْنُ نَرْزُقُهُمْ وَإِيَّاكُمْ إِنَّ قَتْلَهُمْ كَانَ خِطْئًا كَبِيرًا. Isra to Isra, that do not kill your children for fear of poverty. Allah will provide for them as Allah is providing for you. But in killing your children is a very great sin. We pray to Almighty Allah to forgive us our shortcomings. Plan A in this case will be you doing birth control methods. There are natural ways of doing birth control that doesn't even involve you using any pills. Okay? Maybe the failure rate is high, but that's okay. At least you are doing something. Okay? You can do other methods, barrier methods, and so on and so forth. It's not the focus of this lecture, but it's something you can think about and consult the scholars if this is something you want to, you have issues with. Plan B is actually a pill. It's levonorgestrel. It's kind of expensive because it costs about $35 per pill. And it works for about 48 hours. So, I guess it's not a bad deal. Because plan C is plan children. And in 9 months, you get a bouncy baby girl or baby boy. Alhamdulillah. So, whichever option you choose, they are all great. But abortion is what is haram. Now, in terms of finances, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned who has the financial obligation in the house. When he said, Al-Rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa'i.
Silence, please.
Al-Rijalu qawwamuna 'ala an-nisa'i bima faddala Allahu ba'dahum 'ala ba'd wa bima anfaqu min amwalihim. Sadaqallahu al-azim. That men are the protectors and maintainers of women because Allah has given them more resources than the others and they support them from their means. Now, Allah continues further that therefore righteous women should be devotedly obedient, that is, they should listen to their husband, they should obey their husband, and they should guide in their husband's absence what Allah will have them guide. And Allah continues that, and those who you have disloyalty or ill conduct among them, admonish them, refuse to share their bed, and of course touch them lightly. But if they return to obedience, then seek against them not any means of annoyance, for Allah is high above all of us. Now, this ayah is the ayah that established who has the financial responsibilities in the house. As a man, in case you can't see me from where you are sitting, this is something men generally don't like. Why? Because you can be married to a wife who is even richer than you, who makes more money than you. But guess what? Who has the financial responsibility is the man. What is the percentage? 100 to 0. Let me say that again. What is the financial responsibility ratio in the house? Is 100 to 0. Meaning, the husband is 100 responsible and the wife is 0 responsible for the finances in the home. Let me make that clear again. When it comes to paying mortgage, as it will lie. When it comes to paying mortgage, the husband pays 100% and the wife pays 0. When it comes to paying electricity bill, the husband pays 100% and the wife pays 0. When it comes to buying food to the house, the husband pays 100% and the wife pays 0. Now, like I said earlier, this is something most men don't like. But we have to ask ourselves, why is this the case? The responsibility, the economic responsibility in the house falls squarely on the man. Because the wife has her own responsibilities. We are talking about the primary responsibility. That does not mean the wife cannot help the husband. Remember I said the word help. I'm not saying it is right. It's a help. So when the husband, two women came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and one of them asked that her husband is a very nice man, but he's a man with small means, and she has some resources. Can she give her resources to her husband? What does that tell us? That's the standard. She's not obliged to give anything to him. But she came to even ask this as a question before she even does it, so that she will know that it is halal for her to do. So it's not for a man to now sit down with the wife and say, well, this is the mortgage. Where's your own 50%? It's not part of it. Okay? The Prophet then told her that if a woman gives her husband or contributes in this manner, she will get double reward. Double reward. She will get the reward of charity, and then she will get the reward of helping a family member. Because her husband is a family member. So she's going to get the reward of helping a family member. And then she will get the reward of charity, because what she has done is not obligated on her. Now, does this apply to women who make over $100,000 a year? Yes. Even if your wife is a millionaire and you make $50,000 a year, it is still your responsibility to take care of your family. Why is this important? Because when problems start occurring in the house, it is because we all fail in our primary responsibilities. Now, for a woman that will now tell the husband that it is 100% your issue to take care of the house, remember, your husband is also obligated to stay within his means. So if you, as the wife, because this is the problem that happened many years ago, a couple of years ago, when every woman wants to live in a 4-bedroom house with 3-car garages, and they were pushing their husband, who can barely afford a 2-bedroom apartment, to go and buy a house, to go and put their neck in mortgages. And then, so, if you do that, then you know you are the one that is pushing that. It is for your husband to be able to say no, but as you know, most of men truly love their wives and they truly want to please them, that you can almost always convince them and they will go with the wife. And now they go and put their necks in mortgage that they can't afford. And so, don't take what I'm talking to you today to be that Dr. Laimon said is 100 to 0. If you know you are somebody who forced your husband to go and buy that house, when you know you cannot afford it, don't quote me on that. Because if your husband then has the option, he can then, say, honey, let's move back to our 2-bedroom apartment. Then don't do magic. Don't do that. Because if your husband can only afford a 2-bedroom, he's allowed to stay within his means. He's allowed to stay within his means. That way you can keep your money and he knows it's 100% his responsibility, but that means he has to stay within his means. So if that means vacating that 4-bedroom house and 3-car garages to go back to the apartment, okay, that's fine. Alhamdulillah, you can keep your money. So they all have to exercise some wisdom. Now, when it comes to the challenges of women who are working, it's important to understand why financial responsibility is the prerogative, for lack of a better word, the problem of the husband. For women who work, please do not make up excuses because you work is a reason for doing X or for doing Y. Because remember, your husband is responsible for 100% of the economic responsibilities in the house. So, simple exercise. You are going to work, it takes you 30 minutes to get to work, you resume 8 o'clock, it's now 7:30. Your husband is at home, he's looking at you as you are dressing. And you know that happens a lot, that happens here. So, he's looking at you dressing, and you are looking at the clock, and he's looking at you, and then he calls you, Ajia, come to Papa. So, what exactly is supposed to happen? Are you supposed to A, tell him, we did it last night now, just wait till I get back at night. That's option 1. Option 2 is to say, what's wrong with you? Can't you see I'm going to work? After all, I make this money and I bring it home. That's option 2. Option 3 is to call your work and say, I have an urgent family issue to attend to. I will be 30 minutes late, and you go and join your husband. Brothers and sisters in Islam, I'm not telling you what you don't know. I'm just reinforcing what we need to understand. Because if you choose the first 2 options, you are failing your primary responsibility. And don't blame your husband for whatever happened thereafter. Don't blame your husband, because if you leave your husband on ice and he feels frozen when you come back, or somebody else thaws him for you, it is your problem. And this is a particular issue we all